Good evening, everybody. The time is now 7 p.m. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting of February 13th, 2025. Just a note that this meeting is being taped through WCTV for current and future broadcasts. Any public comments will be held to a total of 3 minutes. And we'll start off with the roll call. John Doherty, excused. Marian Galezzo?
Here.
Chris Diorio?
Here.
Brad Jackson?
Here.
Andy Levine?
Here.
Joe Levino?
Here.
Anthony Allison?
Here.
And Scott Neville?
Here.
And myself, Teresa Manganelli. Our first meeting tonight is with the library, and we would be welcoming Natalie Hardy. Sorry about that. Come on forward. So welcome.
Thank you.
We understand this is your first budget.
Yes.
Okay. So how long have you been in your position?
Since September 4th,
Oh, so really new.
yes. But I did, this is my second term working for the Wilmington Memorial Library. I used to be the teen services librarian from 2002 to 2006, and I'm very excited to be back.
Oh, great. That's awesome. All right, so your budget is on page 53. And if you just want to go through
Sure.
each line, and if there's any kind of discrepancy from the previous year, you might want to just, point that out and let us know
Of course.
any changes.
And would it be okay with all of you if I just gave you a brief overview of the highlights from last year for the library?
Sure.
Don't take up too much of your time. So it was a very busy year. There were 102,000 visitors to the library last year. There were 33,000 patrons that were assisted at public service desks, either in our youth services department or downstairs on the first floor. We signed up a total of an additional almost 900 new library cards last year. And we now have close to 10,000 card holders. Our goal is to get that back to pre-pandemic levels to about 13 or 14,000 card holders. So that's going to be one of our goals this year. We have 44,000 physical items in our library. And our residents have access to 82,000 more titles that are downloadable either as an ebook or download audiobook or magazines. Patrons borrowed 148,000 items last year. Those were physical items, and they also downloaded an additional 133,000 digital items. And there were 4,000 times that patrons came in to use our public computers last year. And there were 666,000 people that visited our library.
Wow.
And we loaned out 940 different times that we loaned out discounted museum passes to residents. And we had a total of 900 library programs that were completely free to anybody to attend, and there were 14,000 people that attended. So it was a very busy year, and we plan on continuing to be very busy. We're getting ready to launch a large-scale off-site author series in May, and that will be in the Fez room of the Shriners Auditorium on May 8th, and we'll be hosting Chris Bajalian, who is an author from Vermont, and he writes a bunch of psychological thrillers. So we're starting kind of a twice-a-year night out to come and meet an author off-site. So we needed a larger space to fit about 300 people. So we're really excited to launch that. We're getting ready to renew our collaborative efforts with WCTV. And we're going to also relaunch Welcome to Wilmington, which was an initiative that was happening just about every year before the pandemic at the library, where we invited different town departments and agencies around the town, so that new Wilmington residents could come and find out what there is on offer for the town. So those are some of our upcoming initiatives. Okay. So, getting to the budget. This is basically a level-funded budget with the exception of our salary increases. So there's an 8.5% increase in our personnel services line item. So that totals an additional $86,000. We have 10 people that are getting step raises this year and another 3 that are eligible for longevity. And then in the next section is our contractual services. There's an increase in that line item because we added, we used to have 5 hotspots that we loaned out to patrons so that they can have access to the internet outside of the library when they're on vacation or in areas that don't have internet service. And we were finding that those hotspots were always checked out. So we increased that number to 10 in the fall, and that really has helped out the demand on that. So there's an increase in that line. But a lot of the items that are in this category are all of the services that we subscribe to that help run our library, like our scheduling software, our constant contact newsletter software, the software that we need to have security on our computers, deep freeze, time management and print management software for the public computers, all of those extra peripherals that help us run our library. And next we have the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium. So if you're not aware of it, our library is a member of a 36-member public library system that runs all the way up and down the Merrimack River, and every year we are assessed a membership fee to be in that consortium. And the benefits of being in that consortium is that we are in this giant kind of interlibrary loan system with all 35 other communities that are in this system. So if we don't have an item in our library here in Wilmington, we can request it for them from one of these other 35 libraries. And they can also use their Wilmington Library card at all of those other 35 libraries. And those residents from other towns can come to our library and use their cards. So it's a wonderful service. So this is our assessment fee for this year. It went up a little bit. And it is based on how many items we circulate, how many titles there are in our collection, and what our staffing level is at our library. So there's a 2.52% increase in that this year.
Are those the metrics that they use to assess? So there's 35 contributors.
There are 36 including us, yes.
It's 36. It's not 36 times 41 grand, is it?
Each library is assessed in the same manner, in the same, with the same 3 metrics. So depending on other communities' size
So
of
we
their-
may pay more, we may pay less.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Depending on how big our collection is, how many times we check out books, and how big our staff level is.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What does that money go to? I mean, I understand there's a membership fee, but is there a separate entity that?
There is. Yes,
it's
it
called
is
the
the.
consortium, and
it's
they
ex-
have to staff it, and.
They do.
That seems like there's a lot of money there.
Yeah, they have a staff of, I think, 10 or 11 people. They're currently headquartered in one of the old mill buildings in North Andover, and they're getting ready to move actually to an office suite in Lawrence, in a smaller office suite, because a lot of them do work from home most of the time, and that's going to save them $30,000 this coming year in rent. So they have a staff of 10. They have salaries that they need to pay, but they also provide the online catalog that all of these 36 libraries share, and the support for that, and the cataloging of the items, and tech support and training. So it's a very valuable resource, and they also kind of broker deals for some of our online resources. Some of these the downloadable books are through an app called Libby, and that is a service that the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium goes to that vendor and says, all right, we have 36 libraries that want to sign on to your service. What can you do for pricing? So they also help broker deals for discounted prices on some of these services.
So they also provide us with the engine that runs your card case. Sorry, I'm gonna show my age. Your
That's
card
quite
cap.
right.
runs-
Yes,
card cap.
exactly.
decimals.
I was a library page in high school. I don't wanna show you up here, but, so, there's no cost in this budget for like IT, for the, like, there's usually each department has software, right? There's water department
Exactly.
has software, but this part of this 41,000 is the cost of
The
the
software.
online
Exactly.
card catalog, and they do it centrally, so that facilitates the sharing
Exactly.
of stuff among the. Okay,
Exactly.
I
So
understand.
part
That makes a
of
lot
our
more sense.
assessment does come from the vendor that provides us with our online catalog system. And it also happens to be the same system that we use for checking books in and out, and doing renewals and signing people up for new library cards. It's all the same system with different modules.
That makes sense now,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And apologies if I misheard. Did you say there was an increase in this, or?
Yes, there's a 2.52 increase, so it totals an extra $1,016.
The numbers
It
reflect
looks
the
like a
decrease.
lower number.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe it's the budget book.
It might be the budget book. And I'm looking at my notes and I have 2.52. So I apologize for that. But we will get that corrected. Thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
So up next, we have our programs budget. So it was 15,000. We are asking for a slight increase of 3,000 on that because coming out of COVID, the cost for bringing in presenters and speakers and authors has gone up significantly. And we feel very fortunate that we work in a town where there's actually support from the town for this particular line item. I've worked in many public libraries in the Commonwealth, and this is very rare, and we feel very, very fortunate to have it. We're a very program-heavy library, and we're very, very fortunate to have that.
Does the bookstore next door contribute to a lot of these programs?
They do, yes. So the Friends of the Wilmington Library supplement this.
Okay.
They are getting ready to have their annual meeting in March, so they will vote on the amount that they will allocate to us to supplement our programs. In the past, they have voted to supplement to the tune of $20,000 per fiscal year in $5,000 increments that are deposited into a special account through the finance department.
Wow.
So
That's-
they have not voted on that
Very
yet.
generous.
It
That's
is.
that's a lot of money for programming. If they're giving you 20 and you're budgeting 18,
Yes,
That's a lot.
they're very generous.
yeah.
Yes.
But it was 900 programs, you said.
There were, look back here, 900 programs with 14,000 attendees. So programs for adults, teens, and children. Mhm.
Okay.
Pretty efficient.
And next up are the training and conference budget. So we've increased that by $950, again, because of the increase in the membership dues and costs, increase in registration fees for conferences that are either inside Massachusetts or regional or state conferences. And we do tend to send one or two people each year to a national conference. And then we have office and library supplies. We're level funding this to the same amount of $21,760.
I guess so. I'm guessing we gave what they asked.
Next is our books and library materials section. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Board of Library Commissioners requires that we spend 15% of our appropriated money on new library materials, whether they're physical materials or downloadables or databases. So this is the amount. They actually, because there are a couple of other parameters that are required for us to meet our state aid certification and to receive our state aid grants from the state, and that is the number of hours that we're open. So we are open enough hours to meet our state aid requirements, which is we're open 62 hours a week, 62 hours a week, 6 days a week. And we do, so this amount of 181,000 reflects 13% on books and materials for, of our total appropriation. So they allow us to have some flexibility because we meet our other parameters without any issue. So we're requesting 13% for books and library materials this year. And the increase also is as a result of our increase in our personnel services line item.
Quick question, if that's okay?
Yes, of course.
You had mentioned state aid.
Mhm.
How much?
Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna,
Yes.
I'm curious.
Currently in the state aid account is 100, and as of early December was 162,000. Mm-hmm.
That's what's in the account, or that's what the state gives us for the year?
That's what's in the account right now.
What did the state give us for the year?
And our last payment from the state came in November, and it was for 27,000. And before that, we received another payment of 24,000 in April.
I'm asking, what's the total
sorry.
we got from the state in 2024?
In
I
2024,
understand what's in the account.
Yes.
What is the, because the budget for the library is not 1.4 million for 2026. It's 1.4 million plus grants, plus what the state gives us.
On page 9.
On page
of the budget
9.
book,
Thank you.
oh, thank you.
as part
So-
of the cherry sheet, the local aid
Yes.
for public libraries, it's listed there for the last few years.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah. So we received whatever 20, I don't have a calculator on me right now, but 24,362 plus 27,000.
Yeah, 54,609 it says in the book, and
Right.
Yeah.
we're forecasting 49,000 next year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do you feel that
That's less than
that
I
grant
thought.
may be vulnerable?
Because of the MBTA
Yes.
zoning?
Mhm.
That's an excellent question, and as soon as I found out the results of the town meeting in December, I reached out to our consultants at the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. This particular state aid grant is not vulnerable and not attached to the MBTA zoning rules. However, some of the other funding that comes out of that agency is. So if we were ever to start thinking about a feasibility study for a library renovation, that's a $100,000 grant that agency offers. We would not be eligible for that. We would not be eligible for any construction or renovation grant funds either,
Okay.
right?
If you didn't have a requirement from the state for the 13 or for the 14%, how much would you spend on books and library materials? Is that, it doesn't seem like a lot, so I'm curious, would you spend less? Are you spending more? And
We would probably spend more on physical items if we had more space. Yeah, we're completely out of space.
so my question is the state requirement driving you to spend $181,000, or is there a need to spend $181,000?
It's the state requirement.
Okay, so my question then is this: if we're gonna get $49,000 from the state, but in order to get that, we have to spend 181, would we be better off to forego the 49,000 and only spend 100,000, because we'd save 30 grand? Like, if we don't need to spend the 181,000, but we're spending it to get $49,000, should we spend enough money to get the 49,000? Am I saying that clearly?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
doesn't that play into your participation in the library consortium as well?
they're
how many
not-
books you have and how many
Right.
items you have.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
so if you.
Depending on how many books we have and how many we have, and how many members on our staff we have,
Mm-hmm.
it does fluctuate our membership in the library consortium.
Okay.
No, I get it, but
Yeah.
so, and I'm not trying to be I'm just trying to understand, so I apologize,
Yeah.
because it's gonna feel like I'm not. But a few minutes ago, you said we spend the 181 because we have to for the state. Now, do we also have to spend that 181 to qualify to be in the consortium? Or could we spend less and still be in the consortium? Because we already own the items we have, and we already have access to the items that we have. So we're not growing the number of items available. I'm just trying to figure out if we need to
Right.
spend 181,000 to get 49,000.
Yeah.
Should we spend 100 and tell the state keep the 50? That's really the question I'm driving at. I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out. if
The
it's
state
worth it.
aid money generally doesn't get used on materials, it gets used on other.
Well, but we
other-
could shift this from one line item to another. Instead of giving you 180,000 for material, we could put it where you need it if we had to.
I mean, we are growing the collection, it's just we're not growing it any additionally in physical items, but we are growing it in electronic items, electronic downloadables and subscriptions to databases of all kinds. Right.
So you had an enormous increase in digital subscriptions
Yes.
in the last couple of years.
Yes.
I mean, crazy.
Yes.
From like 32,000 to 166,000.
Yeah.
So-
And it
so
it
that
has
makes
been, it
sense.
has been going up because the physical items are, we have to, there's more of a frequent turnover on the physical items.
Mm-hmm.
As we add new ones, we need to remove some that are in poor quality or no longer being used.
Right.
But we've also increased, because we're out of space, we've increased our digital platforms.
Yeah. What is in your furnishings and equipment budget? You have $10,000 for furnishings and equipment?
Yes. So that has gone down, actually. And we're not buying any new furnishings this coming fiscal year. And the rest of it goes towards updating and replacing computers I think our technology librarian replaces computers every 4 to 5 years. So he'll replace 3 or 4 of them this year on staff computers, and then another 3 or 4 the following year, et cetera, as well as iPads and laptops.
They're always in use. Whenever I walk in there, I'm surprised. There's, anywhere from 4 to 6 people sitting there in the middle of the day working on the computers. And
They are. Yeah, I mean, they're, not everybody, even though it's 2025, not everyone has technology at home.
Mhm.
So they really, really do rely on us. And we have a lot of people that come down the street from the RMV, and they need to, print something out or fill out a form and then go back to the RMV or use our photocopiers. So they are very heavily used. Absolutely.
Do you have anything left in the endowment that you have for the library?
Are you talking about the Barbara Johnson
Yes.
Fund? Yes, there's about $60,000 left in there. And with that fund, as well as most of the expenditures that we charge to our state aid account, I have to get approval from the Board of Library Trustees to expend the money in that endowment. And anything over $5,000 from state aid, I need to get permission from the library trustees. Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to mention something. I know that the members of the committee will likely remember, but in case somebody's watching at home, the delta in the salaries and wages line is affected by the 2 years of COLAs that we had talked about earlier in our meetings. Feels like a long time ago. But, I just wanted to remind everybody of that, so if you're not sure, that there are 2 COLAs in that.
Okay.
That's there.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any other questions or?
Do you, excuse me, do you have a number of how many with your app? How many downloads you've gotten on that?
Oh, you know, I wish I had brought that with me because we report that out to the trustees every month, and I feel like it's about 1,000 every month. It's really starting to grow because every time that somebody comes to the library and wants a new library card, the staff are saying, "Did you know that we have an app for our library that you can get on your phone and you can see what's coming up. You can reserve a meeting room on this app. You can check out your own items on this app on your own mobile device. You can see what programs are coming up and even use the app to register for those programs. So it does a little bit of everything. There's some book recommendations. It's lovely."
I've been using it. I like it.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
glad to hear that.
Yeah.
One
Joe?
last question
Yeah.
for me, for the hotspots, the additional hotspots.
Yes.
Is this for the devices and like a phone line for each?
It's the actual kind of that's the total of what it costs us monthly for the 10,
Monthly?
the monthly subscription.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what happens if somebody loses the hotspot?
They have to replace it. They have to pay to replace it. And sometimes what happens is they're so popular and so useful that sometimes people forget to bring them back after the loan period. So we do have the ability to remotely turn them off, and then they usually come back.
Very smart.
Yes.
Hotspot for you.
These devices became very popular during the pandemic.
Yeah.
As people were, working from home and maybe needed even more Wi-Fi in their homes, and the popularity has not gone away. So we may need to add more even.
Okay.
Just gotta make one comment. First of all, I'd love to go to our library and spend a lot of time there. With our new senior center, it seems to me that we have an opportunity to really connect those two really, really important places. And as a senior myself, I struggle every time I try to figure out how to download an ebook from the library, but I figure it out. But I suspect there's a lot of people who go to the senior center who may not know about ebooks and I just think it's an opportunity, particularly ebooks or audiobooks, as some members of our senior community could use access to audiobooks. So I'd encourage you to reach out to the senior center director to try to put some joint programming together for those folks, because I think they are the ones who have kind of the stereotypical view of a library. It's a place where you get books, and I can't read anymore, my eyes are bad, blah, blah, blah. So I just think it's an opportunity to maybe open doors for some of these seniors, either book clubs or those types of things, whether they be in the library, and now that we have this beautiful senior center
Yes.
as well. So
Yes.
I made that pitch last year to your predecessor, so since you weren't here to hear it, I figured.
I appreciate it. We do actually have our technology librarians do visit the senior center on a monthly basis to do tech help, but we're going to be doing it twice a month now at the new building. And I just recently had the pleasure of meeting the director of the senior center for the first time a few weeks ago, and she immediately said that she would like to collaborate, and we're going to go visit it tomorrow. And I'm hoping that for larger events, we might be able to utilize the community room. And I think book groups at the senior center would be a great idea, along with many, many other collaborations. So thank you for bringing it up.
Yes, so the large dining room, we'll call it that, meeting room, can seat 200 people.
It's wonderful.
So if you're thinking about author nights, that might be an option,
Absolutely.
and it's beautiful.
This is what I've heard. I cannot wait for 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be wonderful to have that building used in the evening as well.
Yes,
So, just a thought.
absolutely.
Does anybody else have any comments or anything? I use your online system all the time, and I will tell you that it's flawless. And if something ever happens, the people at the desk are so willing to help out.
Great to hear.
Yeah, I love it.
I will let them know you said
I can
that.
go on and order 10 books, and eventually they all come to me, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, they all come at once, and we don't have time to read them all.
I know. And I have to send them back and order them again.
We all have that same challenge.
But I'm not buying them, which is great,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah, because books have gotten very expensive, along with everything else.
absolutely, absolutely.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to meet
I have a
you.
question, Madam Chair, for the library.
All right, so just so you know, that you still are held to a 3-minute
Well, these
limit.
are separate departments. There's been a precedent set in the past where we can
True.
ask questions for each department.
That's not true.
You know, that's a clear precedent in the past. And
hasn't-
just logically,
It's not a precedent that's
it's
been
not,
set
it's
by the
not fair,
Finance Committee.
it's not
so-
fair for her to stay around this whole meeting.
You know what? I'll allow you to ask a question. She does not have to answer it. Your question has to come through the chair.
Okay.
And I would prefer that you just make a statement, okay? Rather than
Okay.
looking for answers to questions.
It's actually a question, but the statement is, I have gone to other towns and their libraries are open on Sundays from like 1 to 5, and I noticed that Wilmington is not. And the people in town that pay taxes who can't get there during the week, and maybe Sunday's their only day, have you looked at offering any Sunday hours?
It is something that has come up in the past, and it is something that came up when I used to work here 18, 19 years ago. It's not something that we have forgotten, but it would have to obviously go through this board. It would be additional financial responsibility.
Okay, and the other thing I want to ask is, community colleges are now free in Massachusetts. Has the library trustees or you ever looked into offering any courses at the library where we could get funding from the state that's being paid to community colleges now as like a satellite community college?
We have not looked into that.
Would you be willing to?
Sure.
Okay, and lastly, there's going to be some buildings that are going to be coming vacant in town, and these people that are paying rents on these other buildings, have you looked into the possibility of the town generating revenue into our town by freeing up a building for that organization that, I think it's the Library Consortium, is it? That, I got here a little bit late.
Okay. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I was just wondering if any of the buildings that are coming vacant in town, if this library consortium that are paying big money in rents, is it possible for you to look into possibly having them
We
rent?
don't know that it's big
our
money, and
buildings.
we don't control the library consortium. It's not related to town. Can we stick
Uh,
to
it's-
town
it's a-
They're a
matters?
separate entity, they're a private organization.
Can you stop this?
Yeah, I know, but I was just wondering if maybe there could be some discussions in
McDonald?
town.
That's a question, it's a good question, but that's a question that is for the reuse committee, not for anybody in front of the finance committee.
Okay, just
We
to-
really don't have any
Okay, thank you.
control of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to meet you, Natalie.
Thank you. Good luck.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And next up is Al Spalding, Building Inspector and Board of Appeals. His budget is on page 48. Oh, Al,
Fancy.
what's going on?
Supplement. Wow, this is exciting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, watch out for the spider web around your feet there.
Don't spoil us, Al. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know if anything changed. Yeah, it looks like it changed.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's 2024.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, we've had that problem with a
we
couple
only
of
had
things
20
like
up
the
to 23.
library as well.
Thank you.
Two?
Jeez, Al.
Jeez, Al.
You need to take a break.
Now you're just showing off.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a new year. Right, this is the 2024.
Lots of remodels in 2024.
Thank you, sir.
Got it.
Get a couple?
I don't know if I can do that, Kev. Is this public record? Does he get them?
Yeah, since
You can
passed
have a
it out.
copy of it, yeah.
Huh? You will be charged. In your next tax bill.
Everything's already in the budget.
That's it. See you later.
I didn't hear. Oh, okay. Welcome, Al.
Thank you. This first sheet that I gave you, the statistical department information, you'll notice that it only went up to 2023 in the book. So this shows it at 24. All right. The other part of it is that if you look at that kind of prices it all down to, and there's always questions, how much is this, how many, what is that? So I gave you the sheet that shows you where everything went, that coincides with the commercial buildings, residential remodeling. So it's all under here, broken down by exactly what it is, single-family dwellings, additions, remodeling, miscellaneous, stuff like that.
What is a commercial fit-up?
That's when one company moves out, another company moves in, they do the building over inside.
Al, the single-family dwellings, are you including the condominiums in that?
Those are commercial.
Oh, they're considered commercial, okay.
Well, the bigger ones, like Procopio's down there on Lowell Street, we put those under commercial.
What about the townhouses on Lowell Street,
I think we have those as,
168 Lowell?
I think we have those as commercial also. Single-family dwellings are just pretty much single families.
Standalone homes,
Right.
okay. So there's quite an increase in residential remodeling.
I know.
People can't afford to build new houses.
Surprised they can
I'm
afford
surprised they can afford
remodeling.
remodeling. That's not cheap either.
The residential miscellaneous has dropped pretty dramatically from 2020. Is that just better categorization, or what's in that category?
If you look at it, this breaks it all down. Before, when we did miscellaneous,
Oh, there's
it
the breakdown,
included
sorry.
solar, demo, stoves.
I didn't see it down the bottom.
Right.
Thank you, sorry.
That was always the question that was always asked. And when it was asked, it always stymied me. So I figured, let me just put it out there so I wouldn't get that question.
And you got it anyway. Sorry.
This is great, Al.
I'd like to take credit for it, but the clerks did it.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble,
Thank
but
you.
could we get this in advance of the meeting next year? I told you, don't spoil us. because-
Well, I'm hoping next year, I'll have to talk to who's ever in charge of it, but maybe instead of having a small thing like this page goes in there. But that's,
That's
someone else
fine.
is in charge of that.
No, no,
We can make it happen now.
I don't know that it
There you
changes
go.
our questions. I don't know that it changes our questions, so it's fine.
Okay, so I'll take questions on this document before we get into the budget. If anybody has any questions on this breakdown.
I guess I have one. Are you seeing this still going strong at the beginning of this year from '24?
Not as strong,
No.
no. It's, I won't say it's leveled off, but I'm not sure if the banks are giving the money or the people just can't afford to build. There's a little bit of remodeling. The AUDs that are coming up there, accessory dwelling units, ADUs,
Yeah.
all right? That's gonna be interesting. It's,
Have you figured that out yet?
no,
Have you had
Does-
anybody inquire about it?
yes. What, I've talked to Paul Looney about it. What happens is that in Wilmington, you got so much groundwater, so much stormwater, so much wetlands, then you have septic, so it's hard to fit all of that on a parcel of land. So what we're trying to talk to them about is if they can give us some type of an idea of, let's say there's 5,000 spots you could do, but out of that 5,000, maybe only 15 of them are gonna work. So we're trying to get to those 15, so we have those answers when the people come in. Because the septic is big. You can't be putting something somewhere and then you can't make a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, or take a separate structure and put it somewhere in the yard and then have another septic system. The land just doesn't carry it. So that's, it beats a lot of people up because they all think, I'm gonna make my garage an apartment now. And then we go through all this here, so we're trying to get it so we're a little bit more proactive. So when they come in, we can just tell them, no, you can't do it.
So if, in addition to the existing house versus a standalone ADU, so the standalone will require its own septic system. But if they do an addition to the existing house, would that be able to just stay with the existing septic?
Well, talking with Val, the planning director, the town, we have a little bit of a quandary where we take $12.50 for an accessory dwelling unit that can be that has to be attached to the house, all right, which a lot of people already have. So now, if that's gonna be an ADU, then they're gonna have to get a special permit to put the one up in the back. Well, the one in the back can only be 900, so it's like, do we keep what we have and add the 900, or do we just say, okay, it's just gonna be 900 and you can't do the $12.50 that you have in the cellar or whatever for people that are making the accessory apartments in the cellar or in an addition. So it's,
But would that, how would that impact the septic system, though? Could you get away from the need for its own septic?
I think I can answer that, because I've talked to several people in the building about it. It all depends on what your septic's built to. So you can have a freestanding ADU if your septic's overbuilt such that it can have sufficient capacity, but most of them aren't.
Right.
You have a 3-bedroom septic, you've got a 3-bedroom house, you don't have any extra capacity. You've got a 4-bedroom septic in a 3-bedroom house, you can possibly put an ADU on there without increasing the septic. But most builders aren't building that way.
Right.
Built to what the capacity you need for the structure you're putting on.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting, Al, to see what
one of the
happens.
things with the ADUs that, my personal opinion is that they don't have to be owner occupied,
Yeah.
all right? Where our zoning says that if you're gonna have an accessory dwelling unit, it has to be either occupied as the primary or as the accessory. The new legislation saying that you can rent the both of them out and move somewhere else. That's different. That creates absentee landlords.
Okay. All right.
We dig into the budget. This,
Well, we haven't gotten into the
yeah,
budget
yeah,
yet.
so before we do that.
Oh,
I
yes,
have a
oh,
question
excuse
on
me,
this.
all right, go ahead.
Sorry. Fit-ups, $1.1 billion?
That's commercial,
Yeah.
yeah. They add up, I mean, you got a lot of square footage here.
So so a fit-up, for example, is probably in 2024 would be the changes to the Textron property, maybe?
Well, if you did a quick math, you do 50 into 1.2, that'll tell you what each fit-up costs, it's probably,
Yeah, but we had 50
Yeah,
the
we had
year
50 the year
before, and it
before
was
and the
only
year before.
$16 million.
right, but
This is 1.1 billion.
these are,
Am I reading that number right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it
I never
says.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 commas in
Not one of our
a town budget
I
presentation.
don't see it in my
Gotta
checkbook,
be
so
some
I
big value
don't know what to do with it.
That's a big number.
That's one of the things that drove the new growth.
Yeah.
But Yeah, when somebody buys a $90 million building and spends $50 million, spend it out, I mean, yeah, it's a ludicrously high number, yeah.
That's actually going down, you said, kinda, right?
Well, that, hopefully.
That's not sustainable.
Yeah, that's
Just as on a kind of a global scale, it's not.
Right, it's all depends on how
One
big the
time-
warehouses are and which ones they're doing over, and
Are any of the warehouses occupied yet?
the one down, the big one where Avco used to be on Lowell
Yeah.
Street,
Mm-hmm.
that's not occupied. From what I hear, they're looking for a one client to go in, so they don't have all separate leases, so they can probably resell it or something. Upton Drive has two big buildings, and they both are in, right now, being fit out. Okay, one's for Zoll and one's for UTZ, the chip place.
Oh, yeah, good.
Must be a lot of money in chips.
It must be. What about the one going down towards
800 Salem.
Salem Street? Yeah.
That one's, I think Amazon's going
Yeah,
there.
that's Amazon's, they're presented to the planning board.
Oh, they did?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I wasn't supposed to know if I could let that out of the bag yet, but he did it.
Sorry.
Well, that, of course, has been
Public
floating
meetings.
around, you know, every time there's an empty building,
Right.
Amazon's going in there, you know, but, so, good. Good to know they are.
What's going on with Princeton Properties?
That's, every time we turn around, they're filing for something. But I think they finally got everything they needed. Problem that came to me through Valerie, or through me to Valerie, was they were trying to do it in phases. And that wasn't how the planning board gave them permission to do it. So you can't put up one building, then another building, you gotta kinda put them all up together.
But they're still going forward.
Still going forward, but
Good. All right.
Quick question on the sheet that you gave us for residential remodeling for 2024. You have a number at 451.
residential which one was it?
The statistical department information one that you gave us.
Yep.
And then on this, the other sheet with evaluations, it's 121. And I noticed on the residential remodeling for 2022, the number should be 217, it's 27, so I'm just guessing it was typed in wrong on that, so. Not a big deal, but just wondering which the correct number is for the residential remodeling. And if you don't have it right now, not a problem.
34, oh, and the 23 is the one you were looking at? We had 53 and you got 165. I'd have to look and find out what's going on with that. I think, I can't even answer it. I'd be guessing.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Are we ready for the budget?
Sure.
Okay.
Pretty much level funded.
Yeah?
Yeah. Can't get much closer than that, Al. Do you want to talk about Board of Appeals? Is there anything happening in there that we should know about?
Board of Appeals is interesting. Just on the statistical, it pretty much speaks for itself. We have now had a finding from the town council that directly contradicts what the previous town council told us. Is that if you've got an existing non-conforming structure, the oldest way, the previous way was you can extend the non-conformity vertically, horizontally or vertically without going to the Board of Appeals. The new town council says, no, you can't. When I first came here, I believed the way the new council reads it, but They're the ones with the degrees. And so I'm gonna have, they already told us what they want us to do, that anybody who's going to extend a non-conformity vertically or horizontally, they have to go to the Board of Appeals. Where before, for the last maybe 6 or 7 years, they didn't have to. It was as a matter of right. So,
So you're talking about a lot where it's grandfathered for a non-conforming lot.
structure.
Right. So I thought that you could only go up, that you couldn't expand beyond the foundation, because you can't conform to any of the setbacks.
That's how I view it. We're not even going up. In other words, if you're 2 feet away from your lot line, right, and you're gonna go back, I always thought that the guy next door should know that you're gonna have a structure going 2 feet back all the way. The previous town council says, no, that was Jonathan Silverstein, says, no, that doesn't work that way. He can do it as a matter of right. So I had to follow that. The new town council, I talked with him, and he says, no, if you're gonna go back, that's still a nonconformity, you gotta get permission from the Board of Appeals, special permit. So, that's where, I don't know if everybody is hearing it outside, but that's what it is now.
But our current council has been in existence for a while,
Right.
so.
We
this-
swapped town councils, though. We went from Deutsch Williams to Copeland and Page. So that's,
Okay,
Don't we have KP Law?
KP Law.
Copeland and Page, that's,
Oh, Coleman Page.
I'm with you, Marion.
Those acronyms get you.
Yeah, there's too many of them. All right. Okay. Any other questions? No?
thank you.
Thank you, Al. It's great
All
to
right.
see you again.
I have a comment, I have a quick
Oh,
comment.
go ahead, Anthony.
Anecdotal, earlier in the, not finance related. November, we were hosting Thanksgiving. National Grid shut the gas off because we had a gas leak. You guys hustled and made things happen. I see that your plumbing and gas inspector is only part-time. I believe they made a call to a neighboring town and got the gas back on in my house so the heat could come back on so I could still host Thanksgiving. So I just wanted to give a shout out. I think, just reading here, Laura Sultan,
That's the clerk.
she, because they come, they shut your gas off, and then they say, figure it out. And you're like, National Grid. So you have to do all this clerical work yourself, and she helped out a lot. So
Oh, I'll
I
let
just
her know.
wanted to say thank you for that.
She'll like that.
Yeah.
We don't get many that out of girls.
I was curious because you don't see something like someone from North Reading coming anywhere on the budget, right? So someone made a phone call and made something happen, so
Oh,
thank you.
that's good to know.
That's awesome.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Spaulding.
Can you stop?
I noticed that on the new senior center, there's exposed wood on the sign, on the posts, covering over the bench, and I don't know what other areas have exposed wood, but it just seems to me that having exposed wood is we're gonna need to replace it in 3 or 4 years. And can you shed a little light on that?
It's cedar.
It's cedar?
It'll resist it.
Okay, and the other thing is the construction manager at risk process for building, say, the town hall. Who does the inspections on that? Is that like a private architect, or do you do the inspections?
Do the inspections.
You do
Along with the architect and engineers of record, they send me affidavits saying that they've been out there doing.
But you actually do the inspections too?
Yes, I do.
So when you're going to inspect the roof, does the company provide lift equipment for you to go up and inspect?
Something
This-
like that.
Madam Chair, we're here about a budget, not about the
No.
internal runnings of the department.
I know.
Okay.
I think if the questions the public has about the budget, they can ask the questions about the
Yeah,
budget.
I can
within
ask
their
questions
3
about the budget.
minutes. But if they, if they wanna, there are other public meetings where these questions can be asked or they can be go into their department and ask them during the business day.
Okay, then maybe Mr. Jackson could answer this question, maybe Mr. Spaulding. Mr. Jackson?
Madam Chair.
No, your questions have to come through the chair.
Oh, through you. Okay, well, maybe you know the
Yes.
answer to this since you're the chairperson. Can you tell us how the total amount of money in permits that come into this department compare to the personnel cost?
I cannot tell you that off the
Okay,
top of my
that's fine.
head, but I do
Can anybody
suggest-
here tell me that?
I'm sure no one can tell you that
No one
off the
can tell
top
me
of their
that?
head.
Okay.
We could all take out
So-
our calculators and figure it out if we wanted to know it.
Well, the reason why I asked is the town of Wilmington's incorporated as a nonprofit, and so I'm thinking that all the money that comes in for these permits, Mr. Jackson, I believe, mentioned that there was $1 billion valuation of fit-ups, which the permits are relative to a percentage of that. And so when the people in Wilmington are being taxed, say to fund salaries and that sort of thing, it seems to me that if the department is bringing in revenue from permits and the town's incorporated as a nonprofit, in a sense, it's acting as a for-profit company to take that money and put it into free cash. And since nobody knows the answer to this, I think it might be a good idea for you, being on the finance committee, to actually get the answer to this.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald.
And
You've
the other thing I
exceeded your
wanted to
time
ask
limit.
was,
Mr. McDonald, you've exceeded your time limit, but thank you for your
that wasn't even
input.
close to 3 minutes.
It was, sir.
No, it wasn't.
It
Long
was.
It wasn't, because you spoke.
Can we go next?
Al spoke.
Can we go on
Sir,
to the next
you've
agenda item,
exceeded
please?
it. Al, thank you very much for coming in
Thank you.
tonight.
Good night, Al. Thank
We'll
you.
see you next year. Okay, and our last department is the Board of Health, page 43. Shelley Newhouse, how are you, Shelley?
We're getting handouts from everybody
No,
tonight.
they're not coming in, Valerie's sick. She's coming in on the 25th. How are you? Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
How are you guys?
How are you?
Good.
Okay, so,
I'll give you a second to look at my statistical.
it's a big drop in the flu clinic in attendance.
Yeah, well, that was, we did the schools last year, and this year we subbed it out to CVS.
Oh, yeah,
So that's a big, that's where you see a big decrease.
yeah.
Big jump in those beaver permits.
Doubled.
They're multiplying out there.
I'm curious about the funeral permit. Do you
Yeah.
need one to have one at a special location, or what's that for?
Funeral homes are licensed by the local boards of health.
Oh,
So that's their annual
Yep,
license?
that's an annual
Okay.
license that they get.
and we only have one now in town.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Same with the ice rink?
Same with the ice rink, yep. They are.
What is an installer?
That's a septic system
Okay.
installer.
Is that companies that do it, or the individuals that work for the companies? There's 44 companies?
They're the individuals that work for the companies, so each individual has to take a test and get licensed.
Okay.
It's the microblading. I went up 3
Microblading
times.
is eyebrows and permanent eyebrows.
Okay.
Makeup, and we have 2 schools in Wilmington, that's why we have such a large number. They actually teach how to do it, so we have 2 of them.
So their students get permitted?
So I license each and every student to make sure that
License.
they have all their vaccinations and other requirements. So it's kind of a rotating door, they go through and I license them.
I've never had my eyebrows done.
Yeah, it's pretty popular.
Are we ready for the budget?
Looks pretty flat other than salaries.
Yeah, it's level funded.
Mm-hmm.
That's any questions?
I know I have a question about these numbers. So I know during COVID, you were just out straight. I remember you coming in here and just, I don't know where my next nap's gonna come
I
from,
know,
right?
I was
Like,
in
it
my
was-
pajamas, I think,
right,
every
yeah,
time I talk to you
I
guys.
distinctly remember those years. How's everything, like, generally, forget about the stats, but how is
Yeah.
everything in general?
Good, everything's good. It's, we're dealing with large flu A outbreaks right now, which is, we've had probably the biggest, biggest flu season in a long time, since pre-COVID. So our numbers are way higher than COVID, but a lot of people don't test anymore, so, I see that, but we have a lot of flu going around right now, and a lot of norovirus going around right now. But it's been a million times better. My whole office and department, we can look back and joke on it now. But just what we went through, and it was tough.
Are you going to have the nurse at the new senior center
I am.
one day a week?
Yeah,
Is
so
that what?
she's going to go there on Tuesdays. So she has a
Okay.
beautiful office there
Yeah,
that
yeah,
she's outfitting herself right now, with supplies. And instead of being here on Tuesdays, she's gonna just be there which I think is a great idea.
Mhm.
And we set her up with a really nice wall unit, just like you would see if you went to the doctors, like blood pressure, ear and eye, instruments, the whole setup she'll have. It's a nice office space
Yeah.
for her, and I think it's good that she'll have a presence there, because it's so big. And then, like she can, instead of just even sitting there, she can kind of move around, go around, and see what people are doing, and get a little bit more
Right.
of her presence known,
Right.
yeah. But I think her office is gonna be nice over there.
Yeah.
I'd wanna be there.
Every space is
I
nice
know,
over
I
there.
would wanna be there.
New is nice.
Yeah.
Any other questions regarding the budget? No?
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you guys.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, same conditions as before?
Yeah, through you.
I thought it was 3 minutes total.
No, it's, precedent's been set
Just-
in the past,
We're gonna
just
let
to let you
this
know.
go tonight. It's fine. I'm
Um,
allowing it.
So maybe this is a question for you relative to the budget, because taxes are relative to the budget. How does the new growth factor into the mathematical calculation for increasing the ability to increase the tax levy or the percentage
Does
of it?
this have anything to do with the Board of Health?
Well, she's part of the budget.
No, that's stretching it, Mr. McDonald.
Okay, well, you asked me if I could ask you a question about the budget.
No?
Do you have anything to ask the Board of Health while she's here?
A couple
If
questions.
not, then I'm going to ask her.
I have a
I'm
couple,
going to
I have a
let her
couple
go
questions
home.
for you, but I had a question for the
Do
manager.
you have a question for the Board of
I
Health?
do.
Okay, let's hear that.
Can you tell us what your return is from permits versus your personnel budget?
You are not compelled to answer, by the way.
I can't answer that
Okay.
question.
The other question I had, probably don't want to answer this one either, but I have a doctor friend who every single week he gets people that are coming to him as a result of consequences from the COVID vaccine. And do you document people who have ill effects from getting the vaccine?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. So I guess the last question is just for the manager, if he could address that new growth factor in the mathematical calculation relative to the tax
All right,
levy.
can I just ask you for 1 minute to hold on? Shelley, I'm going to let you go home.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, everyone.
thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Mr. Slagle, did you want to answer that question?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Okay, so when the town factors in the amount of money that they tax people or the amount of money that they can increase it, it's based on the tax levy. And the tax levy, from what I understand, is based on new growth as one of the components for factoring it in. So, Mr. Jackson,
Hold on just a second, so the incremental difference between the tax levy from one year to another is increased by two things. One, the 2.5% that we're allowed to increase it under Prop 2.5, and any new growth from the prior year.
okay, so that's what I'm getting at, because Mr. Jackson mentioned that we have an astonishing amount of fit-outs to the tune of like $1 billion. And if you've ever done the calculation, how long would it take you to count $1 billion $1 bills with no sleep, just straight counting? It would take you about 32 to 34 years to count $1 billion. So, relative to this particular issue about the $1 billion of fit-outs, so if that's relative to the tax levy increase, our ability to...
No, you're drawing an incorrect inference there. The only things that count towards new growth are things that increase the real estate value of property. So typically speaking, when you have a fit out of a building that they're putting new like an entirely new, they're gutting the interior and putting a new interior in, that doesn't have a material impact in the total real estate taxes for a building, not materially.
Okay, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong. But it
Mr.
just...
McDonald, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but are you wrapping this up because you've
Yeah.
exceeded your time?
I am wrapping it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, since we were told that new growth is factored into the tax levy, okay? I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong, but I find it hard to believe that somebody massively improves their building with all kinds of different tenants and that sort of thing, that building wouldn't increase in value, okay? But my question is pertinent to the impact on the taxpayers and if the town is gonna utilize its ability to increase the tax levy based on that new growth.
So as I mentioned, the difference in the levy from one year to another is the 2.5% that we're allowed to go up plus the new growth from the previous year.
Okay,
That's the difference between when you look in this budget book, or you look online, as you have access to. When you look at the levy amounts from FY '25 to FY '26, the difference in those two numbers is the new growth from the previous year plus the 2.5% we're allowed to increase.
And you're finished now,
What-
Mr.
what-
McDonald.
what
You
percentage-
asked and answered. Thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Yeah,
We appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you for being able to be a part of your private club. Thank you, Mr. Diorio, to
Thank you very
inform
much.
paid
No, no,
members
no.
of the
Don't-
town
please don't
that they
respond.
don't have to answer
Please don't
questions.
respond. Thank you very much. All right, so now, let's see what we have. We don't have any minutes for approval. That takes care of that. Next
Don't have any
meeting,
minutes for
we
approval?
don't have,
We had a meeting the other night?
we will not have any meetings next week. And our next meeting will be on February 25th. And just so you're all aware, we are adding planning and conservation to that meeting as they were not able to come to tonight's meeting. Okay?
February 25th, I'll be absent.
Okay, and you as well?
Just to remind you, yeah, I
Okay.
emailed you previously, I'm out traveling.
Only on this side of the table.
Lots of room, spread out.
Okay.
She didn't take a race last year,
No, they had that 2-year thing where they
but
didn't,
she only got one COLA. I did the math.
yeah.
I don't know if that's 2.5%. Just she
Interesting.
didn't go up $1 from 24 to 25, and then she took a regular, seemingly.
I'm-
You should have seen during COVID.
I'm sure that if that,
I'm certain that that's not true, but it may be that she may have plugged in instead of looking at her actual numbers and her salaries to come up with her this year's budget, she may have plugged in last year's number and added the percentage increase instead of going off what the actual salaries were. So make sure that's
Okay.
corrected.
all right.
Because that's not a guarantee she got a raise. But she is at her top step, so
Yeah.
she doesn't get steps anymore, she just gets goals.
Okay.
I see.
Okay,
I have a
anything else?
question before we adjourn. Can
Okay.
we discuss and determine our rules for public comments? Because we've changed them tonight, and I want to understand what they are for future meetings. And we should tell everybody what they are, but I think we need to stay consistent. And
Right.
tonight we weren't. So what are our rules and what's the engagement?
Well, right now, our rules are, as I state at the beginning of each meeting, that there's a 3-minute limit.
Is that
I-
per speaker or per
Well, it's
public
per
person?
speaker.
Per speaker, okay,
Per
I didn't know
speaker.
that. That's news
And
to me.
that's what we've been dealing with. Tonight, I felt that it was not unreasonable to provide the opportunity to ask a department head if they had a specific question for that department head. So that's why we kind of veered off a little bit from that. But ultimately, it's up to John Doherty, the chair, to determine that with the town manager. I know there's some conversation about tightening that up or changing it in some way, but that's not up to me to do at this point, so I'm going to continue with the 3 minutes, which we've been doing for the last couple of years.
We've done 3 minutes per meeting per person. We haven't,
Right.
before tonight, done 3 minutes per
Right.
speaker. So that's what I'm trying to
It's
understand.
per speaker.
Per speaker.
It is per speaker. Per public speaker or per presenter?
No, for public, somebody coming in from the public.
Okay.
That's three.
Gets 3
Typically-
minutes in total.
Right, typically,
So tonight, a person got more than 3 minutes and they spoke 3 different times. Are we
Right.
going to allow that at each meeting? Because when you say speaker, I thought you meant 3 minutes per person sitting here presenting to
yeah,
us.
no.
Okay, so tonight was different. Going forward, are we only gonna allow each person from the
It
public to
depends-
speak for 3 minutes in total?
It depends, because in the past, we've had just maybe 1 or 2 departments here, and we've been able to wait until the end of the actual meeting. I feel that if somebody comes in and wants to ask a question of our library, that that's not unreasonable. So
Courtesy
it's a,
director.
I don't disagree,
it
I'm
was
just,
a courtesy made
To the
tonight.
director, so they don't have to wait around
Right.
until the end,
Right.
where they may or may
So-
not be asked
So
questions.
again, like I say, I'm doing the best I can with what we've done in the past and trying to be reasonable as much as I can and still maintain that control over the time. But it's not, and at the end of it all, it's not up to me because I am only the vice chair, even though I've been here for the last few meetings. But I understand what you're saying.
wanna
And
make sure we're
I
consistent,
appreciate your
that's all.
concern over it. Yeah.
I get it, and I actually think today, that was for a courtesy to the presenters, that was the right call. We need, he asked multiple questions, and some of them are on
We
point.
cannot talk about anybody specific. We need to talk in
Okay,
generalities
so
about the public.
when questions are asked, they need to be about the subject that's being presented, right, or the department?
Well, no, it's a public comment. It's not, I mean, that's something that, again, we have to,
Okay.
that has to be worked out.
When you allow public comment, you cannot really restrict
Right.
what they comment about.
Okay,
And you
understood.
can try to get them to focus on the agenda items in front of you. But there has been some rulings, judicial rulings that have expanded the public's right to speak on a broader number of topics if you allow public comments in your meeting.
Okay,
So
understood.
the question becomes, given this new ruling, does the chair and/or the board want to continue? That's not on the agenda tonight, it's not something we can talk about. It should be, if we do want to talk about it, it should be an agenda item where we give the public the opportunity to speak about that, because we shouldn't be talking off agenda, but there is, the chair does not have as much discretion as the chair used to have to shut down extemporaneous comments. To the point where they can be
They can ask anything, anybody can ask anything
And
they
they
want.
can make very personal comments about
Yeah.
members, about employees, about, it's really very difficult.
Mr. Slagle?
Yeah, and I just want to kind of remind everyone that notwithstanding the public comment section, and Dr. Jackson is right, that has been interpreted really broadly about the Supreme Court recently. The chair always has the discretion to allow a member of the public to speak on a specific thing on the agenda. And that does give the chair the right to require them to speak on topic. So I think tonight was kind of a hybrid where we said, we're gonna let you have your public comment in different sections so to not keep the, but you could say, this is not your public comment, you're allowed to ask a question on this particular agenda item, and you can let an individual do it, and that's not quote-unquote public comment, that's specific comment on an agenda item, that's always allowed, and it's always within the chair's discretion to not allow it, as well, so you can say, no, we're
But
not doing it.
in order to have that leeway, we would have to eliminate public
No,
comments.
you always have the right to allow a member of the public to ask questions during an agenda if you wish it, as the chair.
Right, but if we eliminate public comments on our agenda,
Yes.
we can then allow people to speak, but we can keep
We
it
can restrict it
directly
more.
to the subject matter, or whatever the chair feels is the appropriate discussion. Yeah, so as I said, that's something that John Doherty and Mr. Slagle will figure out if they.
Certainly bears discussion. Right?
Yes, I think it does.
From a consistency standpoint with other boards and committees in town, are they all doing public comment in a consistent way, or is it just variable based on the discretion of each individual?
All I know is the select board is doing it consistently,
The school building committee is
but
doing it.
but it's a little bit different between our meetings and the select board meetings. So, yeah, everybody's trying to keep to a consistent rule.
If you do ask town council, though, they will tell you, get rid of it and then just give them the right to speak on the specific agenda items at the discretion of the chair. I know that's a politically challenging thing to do, but
Just a separate question. All of the folks who speak hold public offices and have an office, right? So if someone in town had a question of those folks, they could contact them directly. This isn't the only forum for that, correct?
correct.
So there really isn't a necessity to take questions in this meeting, because if they had a question for you, they could make an appointment with you and go see you. If they had a question on anyone that comes to present to us, they could make an appointment and go talk to them directly at that time, correct?
Or they can email.
That's an opportunity that's
They can email
available.
people,
So we-
the department heads. But again, you have to not have public comment on your agenda. If you're going to say I will not allow you to speak.
No, I'm not suggesting we take away public comments. I think it's a valuable resource and everyone should have a chance to say what they want to say. What I am suggesting is that we don't allow people to question each individual that comes to present or force them to stay. If they have a question for an individual that comes in, they can go see that individual in their office, send them an email, call them on the phone. There's lots of ways to get those questions answered. And I'm not sure that it's,
Well, it's also where we represent their government. And we should try to be reasonable and not, if you think of your neighbor coming down tonight and, being confused about certain things in our budget and why things work the way they do, you would want to make sure that you extended the courtesy to that person. So we have to look at it that anytime somebody speaks in public comment, that it's a citizen of our town, and they should be answered in a fair and reasonable way. So it's
I agree.
a tight line to walk sometimes, but we're doing the best we can.
well, I think you manage it great. I'm just
Thank
trying to
you.
figure out what the process is
I
and
am
how
too.
we should manage it going forward. That's all, so that we have one method and we're all on the same page. So there's not we're not questioning it while the meeting's going on. That's all.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much for all that input. I appreciate it, and I'll pass it along. And again, everybody enjoy school vacation next week. I know
Thank
some
you.
of you have young children, and you're happy that we don't have meetings, so.
It's not me, I know.
to adjourn?
Second.
So, hold on, I'll
Oh,
ask for.
sorry.
Hold on.
You paused, I never paused.
Motion
So
was
if-
made, I was
if-
ready to second it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll be quiet.
I'll ask for the motion. So if there's no other business that you want to talk about, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
May I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.